Let's do it. Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm the CEO at Zap. And thank you very much for coming. So, honestly, I'm pumped that we got such great registrations for this topic, given it might sound a little dry. So, I'm going to try and keep it light for that reason. We've got a mixed technical and finance crowd here, so I will spell out terms as we go, but if something flies past you, it shouldn't undermine the core of the thesis, and that's on me, not you. As for why we're here, well, presumably you're a finance or an IT professional, and the world over, we know that trust issues are afflicting teams, data trust in particular, and you're likely one of them. So we know that humans shouldn't run manual exports, humans shouldn't manually reconcile systems, and data shouldn't be spread out like Vegemite on toast. Just in case anyone came here without knowing what a data warehouse is, let me start with the basics. A data warehouse extracts data from your ERP in addition to operational data sources and creates a single source of truth for reporting and analytics in your tool of choice. Most finance or operational software has reporting and analytic capabilities, but no one wants to juggle logins each morning to understand their business. So a data warehouse centralizes everything. So you get one version of truth, and again, set for central access. A data warehouse is the foundation of any modern reporting or analytic platform. And just to drum that home, here's Microsoft saying it in some slightly different words. So what's it good for? Well, we'll hit my 3x3 data governance framework on the next slide, and we'll hit performance. Then we'll round out with the salad dressing, which might need some explanation. You're essentially getting all the calories from the other two, or lack thereof, and these additional capabilities in the salad dressing section are really where the data warehouse earns its chef's kiss. I won't get us bogged down in detail though, so let's just quickly move through how a data warehouse delivers on these 3 points. So a modern data warehouse collects data from your source systems before modeling it into a report-ready form. So source data is shaped for source purposes, not reporting purposes, hence the modeling effort. So sounds simple, but I've seen many a Gordian knot of sticky tape standing in for good data modeling. The modeled data is then stored in the data warehouse with a generous helping of additional structures that ensure data quality and performance. And if you're looking for at a best of breed data warehouse, you want to synchronize that data warehouse to an analytic engine or BI tool. And we'll touch on all of these components. But so how does a data warehouse ensure data governance? Data governance is fundamentally about trusting your data. For that, you need a single source of truth, single consistent names, and common calculations defined once. The data warehouse provides that central repository. It's about centralization foremost. So on my screen, you can see the 3x3 data governance framework. Trust is that first pillar. Moreover, by centralizing your data, you have one vault to secure and manage for your compliance, which are your two additional components, secure and respected. But it's not just about centralization, it's also about enforcement. A data warehouse enforces constraints on your data that no other component in the data platform can. Above all, the enforcements are that no duplicates slip through when collecting and modeling your data. You can't get this enforcement by connecting directly to your ERP or dumping your data into a data lake. Only a proper data warehouse provides you with a centralized governance and forced data quality. And we'll introduce a natural complement to the data warehouse in a few slides that helps with the centralized meaning and metrics. Now, for blistering report and analytic performance, you'll need what's called a star schema. And if you're familiar with Power BI, you may know already that Microsoft insists on a star schema for this reason. That means each and every refresh, you will be required to update this star schema efficiently. And warehouse structures enable that, and they accelerate this through transforms by an order of magnitude. Moreover, the warehouse protects your ERP instead of hammering your source system with massive data pools. It only grabs what's changed. So instead of this scenario where in poorly designed setups, you'll often see ERPs crash at the end of month, your warehouse protects the ERP from just this. Now, I've listed just a few additional benefits of the data warehouse. There are some analytics which are simply not feasible without the performance benefits we've just discussed. And with your trusted, structured data, you're ready to layer on data science and AI. A data warehouse can also retain data over time, which accommodates what's referred to as stream data sources. And finally, a data warehouse is significantly less memory hungry than most reporting and analytic tools. So, as a complement to them, it enables scale by keeping the detail ready on demand while providing the high level aggregates for efficient analysis. Okay, so what do I need? This all sounds great. Sign me up. You'll need four things. So let's go. You'll need a data warehouse. Only a data warehouse will centralize your data and protect against duplicates while providing the performance benefits we've discussed. Please don't consider a direct connection. Let's just not discuss that one. And lakes are not the right solution either. Lakes are for massive storage, think petabytes of data, usually unstructured data. But most ERP data or data for analytics against ERP fits on a phone or two. That's not big data. Lakes don't protect against duplicates anyway. So while we're on the topic, give me a quick 20-second rant. Microsoft's Fabric data warehouse is actually a lake, not a data warehouse. It does not enforce constraints against duplicates. And I'm sure the technical folk were cringing when the Microsoft marketing team won that argument. So do keep that in mind. Now, you may think, we've got our warehouse, we'll just model it all ourselves. How hard can that be? Famous last words. So we'll walk through just what you're signing up for. Scale. If you think it's just a few important tables, the reality is it's at least 100 interlinked tables with hundreds of millions, potentially billions of rows. Complexity. Don't worry, the ERP documentation has me covered. Well, that might be the case, and it might even be right. We've seen that happen on occurrence in certain cases. But be assured that your ERP implementation is a unique Gordian knot of workarounds and business special cases. Processes. Quote to order to invoice to cash. Sounds simple until you hit credits, reversals, splits, payments, and period straddling surprises. No, it's not that simple. Data. Quality can't always be assumed in ERP systems. Manual entries and reversals happen. Time, transaction date, and posting date is a business decision, and the technical folk probably won't know the difference, get it wrong, and nothing reconciles. Don't worry, we've got, I've jumped across, I apologize that. Don't worry, we've got the technical team and the finance team, so we'll just put them all together. Were it that simple? The finance team's not available at the end of the month, and the technical team's off working on another project. So you're up for quite a few months, and the reality is by the time you get everything ready, it's not going to deliver on the democratization you're hoping for, and the data team's going to end up owning the reporting henceforth. On the other hand, a pre-built model can capture thousands of hours of expertise across potentially hundreds of implementations, and they are often field tested through thousands of financial closes and hundreds of full financial years. And keep in mind that it takes a full financial year to throw up all of the peculiarities through finance. So why reinvent the wheel? You can start with an ERP pre-built data model and then bring the rest of your system data around it. So we talk about ERP in the middle because that's the hard bit, and then you bring it all in from there. So you've got your data warehouse, you've got your pre-built models, but you're not done yet. You still need to automate the whole thing, and here's why. Even with pre-built models, every ERP implementation is unique again. So you may have multiple company databases, as some ERPs do, custom fields, or UDFs, user-defined fields, analytical dimensions, currency conversions, and the list goes on. A generic automation tool won't handle these ERP-specific complexities. So this is where an ERP-aware automation tool comes in. Start with smart data sources that understand the specific ERP database or API you're talking to. And these intelligently consolidate company databases as required, optimizing load times through the API or over bandwidth. Then they automatically transform your data for analytical dimensions, currency conversions, custom fields as above, as we talked to. All this while maintaining the governance and auditability that's key to financial data. And again, then you bring the rest of it around your ERP data, which you have at your core. Without ERP-aware automation, you're back to SQL joins for every custom field, and life's too short for that. Now, there's one extra component to this, and it was on a previous slide. I didn't introduce it quite yet. It sounds technical, but it's just a fancy term for the layer that introduces meaning. And so meaning layer sensibly just didn't sound technical enough, so we went with semantic layer in the tech community. It provides rich names, descriptions, and hierarchies, such as year, quarter, month. So this is where we add on the ability to drill into your data from year, quarter, month, and through geographies, etc. So now with that meaning slash semantic layer, humans can now understand the data, but not only that, machines can preempt how we'll use the data, which allows the machines to optimize for common queries. So the net result is you can discover patterns using simple business concepts like sales amount and our geography hierarchy, and at blistering speeds because the machine's preempting how we'll interrogate that data without being left crafting SQL or waiting on said SQL. And it's this engine, this semantic layer, that powers most business intelligence tools such as Power BI and Tableau. But wait, there's more. Your semantic layer can also capture calculations and metrics. So you can define common calculations once in your semantic layer instead of having to define them multiple times and each having their own version, Bob's and Jane's collection effectiveness index. So this is extremely powerful when you connect your analytic layer, but more even your reporting layer, Excel. So now were you in Excel connecting to a semantic layer, not only are you getting blistering performance, you're also getting a single source of calculation truth and avoiding spreadsheet hell. Or put another way, Excel isn't the enemy, the lack of governed calculations is. So All this sounds great in theory, but we've introduced a challenge. Once you have a semantic layer, you must keep it in sync with your data warehouse. For example, if you have a semantic layer, refresh kick off halfway through your data warehouse refresh, you end up in a unknown half truth state. And if you don't know what a half truth is, it's nonsensical. It's a non-truth. You don't want to be in that position. So there are many ways this can go wrong. You can also get out of sync tables. You add the table here and you forget to add it there. You get missed optimization opportunities and the list goes on. So the bottom line is as soon as you introduce a semantic layer, you want to ensure that your data warehouse automation tool synchronizes with it. And hopefully I've convinced you of the benefit at this point of having your semantic layer, but also your pre-built data model and ERP-aware automation. And the challenges associated with synchronizing your semantic layer or the dangers of going without. So this isn't something to try at home. Acid-base reactions do go wrong in home experiments, and the net is don't do DIY data warehouses either. So what's on the front of the box? What do I actually get? Well, it depends on your team. And the outcomes you're seeing here assume that you've got complementary tooling, BI integration, Excel integration, all of it. But it's a pretty sound wrap on what you want a data warehouse for. So when don't you need a data warehouse? Well, if you don't want good looking reports or you like your data in a mess, but more seriously, there are some legitimate cases where you might not need one. So if you're a small business with simple reporting needs and one system, you don't need a data warehouse. If your compliance requirements are minimal, it can be an overkill. If you genuinely only need basic monthly reporting, it's an overkill. And this certainly is the case for many small businesses. Or if you're planning to replace your ERP in the next 6 months, you may or may not need a data warehouse. Or data warehouse can actually help you transition, or it can be another confounding factor in your move. So there's some discretion there. But for everyone else, it's probably time to consider a data warehouse if you at least agree with the points I've made so far. And please don't consider doing it yourself. There's an app for that. Now, if you do need help automating your ERP-aware data warehouse, please do reach out sensibly. This is our business and we'd love to be a part of your data journey. We've got the option of demonstrating this to you in American, English, South African, or Australian accents. You get to choose. And with that, are there any questions?
It's a quick reminder for everybody. If you do have a question, please drop it in the Q&A box at the bottom. I do have one here, Chris. It says you mentioned Fabric. I think you're wrong there. It does have primary keys.
I'm very glad to get a chance to talk a bit technical there. I will try avoid going too deep. You can actually define primary keys in Fabric, but they're not enforced. It's required that you include the not enforced extra stipulation in your definition. And that means that the primary keys are only there as a performance optimization. Great. But they're not protecting against duplicates, which is insufficient for finance data. No one wants duplicated opening or closing balances.
I have two more to cover off. This one says, we're starting to move parts of our ERP to the cloud. Will this still work as we scale and shift infrastructure?
It's a It depends. So certainly you've got the option to use our data gateway if you're talking a Zap implementation, or most other tools have a data gateway in this scenario. And then once you're in the cloud, you can connect via APIs. The only reason so it's relatively
Mm.
easy consideration transitioning to the cloud. The only reason I'd say it depends is with any, there's no simple answer when you're changing architecture. And so I just would advise that you get good advice on exactly when you bring the data warehouse in again, so you're not complicating your planning.
Thank you. And I have one final question. We don't have a lot of IT resources. How much ongoing support maintenance is needed?
So the idea with data warehouse automation is that it automates a lot of the effort away. Of course, I need to be very sure and say up front that there are also requirements to learn the new tool. The idea with any that's your usual investment in sharpening the axe. So I would say any resource-starved team should be considering this, uh, and so it's a great choice. But of course, there is always some setup. So go for it and go in expecting just a little bit of prep to get yourself up and going, and there'll be huge wins on the other side.
All right, that's the end of the questions, unless there are any more from the audience. It looks like my queue's empty now, Chris. So if you want to wrap, we're good.
Fantastic. Well, I did mean to promise at the start that I'd get you out early. I always actually try and come up somewhere around 50% to two-thirds of the way through, and I've delivered on that, although it's a retrospective promise. So fantastic. Thank you very much for joining me, and you have a great day or evening.